संसार दावा नललीढलोका त्राणाय कारुण्य घना घनत्वं संसार दावा नललीढलोका नाय कारुण्य त्वं प्राप्तस्य कल्याण गुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दं प्राप्तस्य कल्याणगुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् महाप्रभु कीर्तन नृत्य गीता वादित्रमाद्यान् मनसो रसेना महाप्रभु कीर्तन नृत्य गीता वादित्रमाद्यान् मनसो रसेना रोमाञ्चकं पाशुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दं रोमाञ्चकं पाशुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दं श्रीविग्रहाराधननित्यनाम्ना शृङ्गारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनार्दो विग्रहाराधननित्यनाम्ना शृङ्गारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनार्दो युक्तस्य भक्तांश्च निनुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् युक्तस्य भक्तांश्च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् चतुर्विध श्रीभगवत्प्रसादो रत्नदीप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्गान् चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसादो स्वाद्वान्नतृप्ता कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपार माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्ना श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपार माधुर्यलीला प्रतिक्षण स्वादनलोलुपास्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् निकुञ्जयो न रतिकेलिसिद्धै यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रादिदाक्षादतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् साक्षाद्धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे युक्तस्तथा भाव्यतेव सद्भिः धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे युक्तस्तथा किन्तु प्रभुर्या प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि तस्य यशस्त्रीसन्ध्यां वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् मा ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमस्ते सरस्वते जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Jaya Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman, Sita Ram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman Jaya. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guru Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Nittai Hari Bol Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Nittai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Lada Daine. हिरण्यकाशीपूर्वक्षः शीलतङ्कानकानहये इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा बहिर्नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा नरसिंहमदें शरणं पप्रदे तव करकमलवरे नाकाम् अबुधशृङ्गा दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तानभृङ्गा केशवदीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे कमलवरे नाकाम् अबुधशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तानभृङ्गा केशवदीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवदीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवदीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिपते देवी सत्य
तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्णा सेवा पावो ए अभिलाषी राधा कृष्णा सेवा पावो ए अभिलाषी जे तो मारा शरण लो तारा वंच पूरन हो तारा वंच पूरन कृपा कोरी कोरो तारे वृंदावन वासी मोराए अभिलाष विलास कुंज दियो वास नयने हरिबो सदा युगल रूपरासी निवेदनाधारो साखीरनुगाता कोरो सेवाधिकारा दिए कोरो निजदासी दीना कृष्ण दासे कोई ये न मोरा होए श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदा ये न भासी श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदा ये न भासी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः प्रेयसी यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्माहत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रनाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्माहत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रनाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे ब्रह्माहत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रनाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय वृंदा देवी 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 नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की जय वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रद देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रद देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रद देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की जय
Tulasi. The Lord of Krishna, I bow down before you again and again. My desire in the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has wished fulfilled. Bestow mercy upon him and make him a resident of Vrindavana. My desire also grant me residence in the precious groves of Shri Vrindavana town. Thus, within my vision, I shall always behold the beautiful pastime of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Karho Danso's Virgin. Please give me the privilege devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always swim in the love of Shri Radha and Govinda. Srimati Tulasi Maharani ki jai. There are 10 fences in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the name of the demigods Lala, Shiva, or Brahma to be equal to independent and name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the order of spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuing the Vedic version. 5. To consider glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activity and strength to chanting holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna was auspicious ritualistic activities, offering the Veda the fruity activities, karma, ganda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about glorious holy name. 10. To not complete faith in chanting holy names and to maintain material attachments in understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense with inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna, Prema. Now let us have most humble obeisances and all the Vaishnavas. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai. Jeto Darpana Marjanam Pavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shriya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnarmita Sadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namagari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Smaranina Galaha Etadishi Tavakripa Bhagavam Mamapi Durudevami Dishami Hajanina Nuragaha Trinata Pi Sunichena Tarora Pi Saishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadaharihi Na Thanam Na Janam Na Sundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Gamaye Mama Jammani Jammanishware Bhavata Bhaktir Haituki Dvayi Ayi Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sthita Duri Satesham Vichintaya Nayanam Karadashru Darya Vadanam Kadgata Rudaya Gira Pulakai Nichitam Vapurkada Tava Nama Karhane Bhavishati Yuga itam nimishena chakshusha pravisha itam shunya itam jagat sarvam govinda virahe name ashri shava padratam pinnashtumam adarshanam marmhatam karotu va yatha tatha va vidathatu lampato mat prananathasya eva naparaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai. Glory to Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and distinguishes fire of conditional life, a repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction of humanity art, because it spreads the rays and benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendent knowledge. It increases ocean transcendent bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which all is anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone crown all benediction of human beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by holy names. But I am so unfortunate to have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to commit wealth, nor do I be for women, nor do I want any number of followers. Only want to have causes devotional service, birth after birth. O Samarjananda Krishna, I am an eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, while my eyes bedeck tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name, while my voice choke up, while I hear my body stand and the recitation of your name. O Govinda, feeling of separation and constant moment to be like a great millennium. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and shall remain so if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is my worshipful Lord. Unconditionally, Shri Chaitanya Sukhsastakam Ki Jai. Shri Guru Pranam Prayers Ki Jai. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshum Litam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swaram Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuddha Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Sarasate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachadadesha Tarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhani Videvi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhavin Namaha Madhuryo Jala Premadya Shri Rupa Nuga Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karana Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Mutaye Dinatarine Rupa Nuga Viruddha Pasiddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Vishnu Chada Viraka Mutaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padam Pujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumistvam Nirdeshta Sajanapriya Vaishnava Savabhama Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Svarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jaitam Surato Pango Mamamanda Matekati Masarasvapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kaupadumadaha Shimadrana Kara Singhasanasto Shrimad Radha Shri Govinda Devo Krishtari Bi Sevimano Smarami Shriman Rasaram Devam Vam Siva Tatatasta Karsham Venusana Gopi Gopinata Shri Yestuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasade Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarna Karanam Chintamani Prakarsat Masukalpa Vriksha Lakshavritesha Suravirta Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasrasata Sambrama Sevyamanam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kvanantamaravinda Dalayatasham Barhavatam Samsitam Buddhasundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobham Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvana Malya Vamsi Ratnangadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shamam Tribangala Niyata Prakasam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhujala Vigrahasya Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Advaitamachyutamanaदिmanantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Shatavatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Muni Pungamana Sopyasti Yatrapadasimya Vichenta Tatve Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sorachaitam Jagranda Kotim Yaschaktirasti Jagadanda Chayayatanta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yadbhava Bhavita Diyo Manujastataiva Samprapya Rupa Mahimasana Yalavusa Suktayameva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Tavirya Nija Rupataya Kalavihi Goloka Eva Nivasati Akilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hrideshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achinta Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Amena Tishta Nanavataram Akarodu Bhuvanesu Kintu Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Sri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desire in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with his figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Sham Sundar is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas, by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities in the company of her confidants, Shakis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by her ever blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shamasundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the form of Rama, Nishinga, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portions. Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. Glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Janmadya Shayato Niviyat Itaratas Charteso Vigyaswarat. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Bhuyanti Yat Surayaha. Tejo Varimadam Yatav Vinimayo Yatra Kisamo Dishago Misha Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva. Okay, so if someone would like to read this, you want to read?
O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji and the original living being.
By him. Oh, it's not there?
By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into the illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three moods of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2. You want to read the next one? No, I'll say the Sanskrit, the English. 1 second. Dharma pujita kaitra vocha paramo nirmotsaranam statam vidyam vastavam atra vastu shividam tapo trayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vapurer Ishwaraha Sadyo Hidi Avarudyate Trakriti Bihisa Susubhistakshanat. Go ahead.
Completely rejecting all religious activity which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is the sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hear the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Very good. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.3. Nigama kalpataro galitam phalam sukhamukad amrit dravya samyutam. Pibata Bhagavatam rasam alayam muhur aho raska bhuvi bhavakaha.
O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful. although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Granth Raj ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I wanted to just go over a little bit about what we discussed yesterday. So let's start with Canto 3, Chapter 12, and text number 29. And it says, I know we read this yesterday, but I want to just repeat it a little bit. Tan adar me krita matim
Tan adar me krita matim
vilokya pitaram sutta
vilokya pitaram suta
marachi mukya munayo
marichi mukya munayo
visrambat pratyabhodayan
visrambhat pratyabhodayan
tam
tam
unto him
unto him
adarme
adharme
in the matter of immorality
a matter of immortality
krita matim
krita matim
the mind being so given
the mind being so given
vilokya
vilokya
seeing thus
seeing thus
pitaram
pitaram
unto the father
unto the fourth
sutta
suta
sons
sons
marichi mukya
marichi mukya
headed by marichi
headed by marichi
munaya
munaya
sages
sages
visrambat
visram
with due respect
with due respect
pratyabhodayan
pratyabhodaya
submitted as follows.
submitted as follows.
Thus finding their father so deluded in an act of immorality, the sages headed by Marichi, all sons of Brahma, spoke as follows with great respect. Okay, so I just want to read the last line, or the last paragraph of the previous verse, and then we'll go and then we'll read this one. So it says, one should, however, take serious note of this incident. That is, Brahma's becoming overwhelmed with sex desire. The human being is a social animal, and his unrestricted mixing with the fair sex, meaning women, leads to downfall. So notice the word unrestricted mixing. Such social freedom of man and woman, especially among the younger section, is certainly a great stumbling block on the path of spiritual progress. Material bondage is due only to sexual bondage, and therefore unrestricted association of man and woman is surely a great impediment. Maitreya cited this example on the part of Brahma just to bring to our notice this great danger. Okay, so whatever is happening to Brahma here, it's to instruct us about the dangers of unrestricted association. In other words, there should always be a formality of association between men and women. One should never cross the line of intimate association. Even a husband and wife, they should always respect each other as children of God, and respect each other's desire to make spiritual advancement and go back to Godhead. Okay, so now it says, someone can read the purport. The sages like Marichi.
The sages like Marichi were not in the wrong in submitting their protests against the acts of their great father. They knew very well that even though their father committed a mistake, there must have been some great purpose behind the show. Otherwise, such a great personality could not have committed such a mistake. It might be that Brahma wanted to warn his subordinates about human frailties
Frailties.
in their dealings with women. This is always very dangerous for persons who are on the path of self realization. Therefore, great personalities like Brahma, even when in the wrong, should not be neglected. Nor could the great sages, headed by Marichi, show any disrespect because of his extraordinary behavior.
Wow. This is real, let's say, knowledge, respect. This is the way to deal with people. So, Brahma is not an ordinary person. He's a very elevated person. Even when he's wrong, he should not be neglected, nor could the great sages, headed by Maharishi, show any disrespect because of his extraordinary behavior. His extraordinary behavior is disgusting, but they're not going to cross the line of castigating him publicly or to what you would say, disrespecting him. Okay. So now text 30. We'll just read the English from here on. Who would like to read? Oh, Father. Anybody?
Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Father, this performance in which you are endeavoring to complicate yourself was never attempted by any other Brahma, nor by anyone else, nor by in previous kalpas, nor will anyone dare to attempt it in the future. You are the supreme being in the universe, so how is it that you want to have a sex with your daughter and cannot control your desire? Purport by the post of Brahma is the supermost post in the universe. And it appears that there are many Brahmas and many universes beside the one in which we are situated. One who fills this post must be ideal in behavior. For Brahma sets the examples for all living entities. Brahma, the living entity who is the most pious and spiritually elevated, is entrusted with a post next to that of a personality of a godhead.
Okay. Someone can read the next.
Translation: even though you are the most powerful being, this act does not suit you because your character is followed for spiritual improvement by people in general.
So that's very important because how can you give a good example by engaging in abominable activity? Not possible. So this is completely out of character for Brahma to be contemplating such an abominable act. Now, let's be very careful here and see. Brahma did not actually do anything. He was only thinking about it. But in previous ages, just thinking about doing something sinful, you would get the reaction immediately. So, therefore, it was not possible to keep anything a secret in previous ages. This is why Marichi and all the other sons of Brahma knew exactly what he was thinking and contemplating. and they objected. But they did it respectfully, very carefully, because they were not sure, is this just low-class behavior, or is there some purpose that Brahma is trying to teach us by this extraordinary behavior that no one else has ever done before, nor will ever be done in the future. So this is a one-time super, let's say, super example to teach us something, to teach all living entities, and especially great sages, something very, very so important. Okay, so then continue.
Purport. It is said that a supremely powerful living entity can do anything and everything he likes, and such acts do not affect him in any way. For example, the sun, the most powerful fiery planet in the universe, fiery planet in the universe, can evaporate water from anywhere and still remain as powerful. The sun evaporates water from filthy places and yet is not infected with the quality of the filth. Similarly, Brahma remains unimpeachable in all conditions. But still, since he is the spiritual master of all living entities, his behavior and character should be so ideal that people will follow such sublime behavior and derive the highest spiritual benefit. Therefore, he should not have acted as he did.
Yes. So, although he might have had the power to not be affected by the act that he was going to perform, although that's not sure, but it's not, he has to give an ideal example to everyone else to follow and derive the highest spiritual benefit in spiritual life. Therefore, he should not have acted as he did. That means every one of us, whenever we wear the dhoti and the sari and the tilak and the different things that identify us as Vaishnavas, we have to be extremely careful in our behavior and the way we speak and the way we do things, because people are watching us. And if we act always in an exemplary way that inspires people to make spiritual progress, then we're doing the right thing. But if they see us thinking and doing things that are not inspiring for spiritual advancement, they're going to be not only disappointed, but they will also ignore us. So, therefore Prabhupada says, example is better than precept. You might want to write this down. Example, E-X-A-M-P-L-E, is better than precept, P-R-E-C-E-P-T. That means that the example that you show is more important than all the things that you say. So it's very important that we have an example of a pakka Vaishnava all the time, in what we say, what we think, what we do, how we relate to people, and etc. I know this one lady told me once, I'm not coming to the temple anymore. I said, why? She said, because you have one pujari there. I don't like the way he behaves, and I'm not going to come anymore because of that. I said, well, that's one pujari, but how about everybody else? She said, oh, they're all good, but I'm not going to come because of that pujari. So, you see, it's in what, I asked her, what did that person do? And she went through a list of things that she thought were inappropriate and not becoming of a genuine pujari. So here we have this problem. We are all on what you would say we're all being observed to see if we're genuine Vaishnavas or not genuine Vaishnavas. So therefore it's very important that we always act with full, let's say, consciousness that people are watching us, and the way we act is going to influence the way they think about Krishna consciousness as a whole. So even if they see one of us misbehaving, that's enough for them to say, well, I'm not going to come to this temple anymore. So therefore, everything has to be done very carefully in the temple, and the behavior of the devotees is the most important thing, because that's what convinces people to become Krishna conscious. I remember once in Berkeley, California, we had a neighbor that hated us and organized all the neighbors to protest against our temple, try and get our temple closed. And this man was just, hell-bent to destroy the temple. And he was right across the street from the temple. He lived right across the street. So one morning, I was chanting my rounds outside the temple, and I noticed that he had parked his truck. He had a truck across the street, on our side of the street, not his side of the street. So I didn't take much notice of that. I kept chanting. But then I noticed that some gasoline was leaking from his truck. And I could see it on the ground. And I saw the drops falling. So I thought, whoa, this is not good. So I went across the street and I knocked on his door. And this was about 6 o'clock in the morning. 6:30 in the morning. And he didn't come right away, so I just kept knocking. And then finally he came. He didn't open the door. He opened the curtain. And, he was like upset that I was knocking on his door. And he was like, why are you doing this? And I said, you're a truck. And he said, what do you mean my truck? He was like shouting through the window, and I'm trying to shout back through the window, right? And I said, your truck is leaking gas. So I had to say it about 3-4 times out loud, And then he realized what I was talking about. So he opened the door. He said, what did you say? I said, your truck, come and take a look. It's leaking gas. It could catch fire and cause a lot of damage. So he said, look, show me this. So we walked across the street. He was in his pajamas, right? He had some funny hat on that you use when you sleep in pajamas. We walk across the street, and I point to where the gas is leaking. He said, oh, you're right. That's really nice that you told me this, So then I helped him, try and stop the gas from leaking, and then try to soak up the gas so it, it doesn't catch fire, and so many things. So then we fast forward. He really thanked me that I, showed him this and helped him. So we fast forward about a month or two, and one day he knocked on the door of the temple. And I happened to be there, so I opened the door and I see him, and I'm a little surprised because, he's an enemy, right? He's doing everything possible to close the temple. And I said, oh, good morning, how are you? He said, I'm okay, can I come in your temple? And I was like surprised, right? He had never done that before. I said, sure. So he came in, and we talked a little bit, and he said, look, he said, I'm going to celebrate my 50th anniversary birthday I want to do it in your temple. I said, really? He said, yes. Is it possible? I said, of course it's possible. He said, and I want to invite all my friends. I said, meaning all your friends that don't like us? He said, yes. I said, okay, fine. And I showed him where, he said it'll be about 40 people. So I showed him where we could set up tables and accommodate the 40 people. And I asked, is it okay if we serve some food? He said, sure, you want to do that? I said, yeah, definitely. You are our guests. So it happened. The 40 people come. These are all our enemies, right? They're protesting against us all the time and writing letters to the city council. And they're all there. And they all came because it's his birthday party, and he's celebrating it in the temple. And then he gets up to speak. And he says, my dear friends, you know that I have organized all of you to protest against these people, these Krishna people. And we've been doing it for several years. He said, but something happened that has changed my mind about these people. So he said, and then he explained about the early morning, truck, gas leaking, and how I helped him, and so forth. He said, what he did changed my opinion about these people. That's why I've invited all of you to come to the temple, and I hope that you also can change your opinion about these people. And I want to say that they are actually good people. They are not doing anything really bad. And we should stop our protesting and respect what they're doing. Now, this guy, by the way, is a PhD, and is a high position in the city government, right? And this was like amazing. And then, we served prasadam, everyone was talking, and it was just a wonderful birthday party, right? Now, fast forward again about 2 years, he had a severe stroke. He almost died. Every day, our devotees would take prasadam to him. I would send one lady devotee to clean his house, to help him any way he needed. And we became like family, right? So this is a true story. I'm not making any of it up. I'm not embellishing it. It's exactly what happened. So therefore, we have to show by our behavior who we are, not simply talking, about, Krishna consciousness and philosophy, but actually show by practical actions and acts that we actually are what we say we are. We are devotees of the Lord. We have no material, let's say, goals. Our goals are to simply spread Krishna consciousness and help everyone go back to Godhead. And our motto is para upakar, doing good to others. So here was a practical example, a shocking example of how even one act of genuine sincerity and care can change a person's mind. A person who's inimical, who's done many things to try and destroy the temple, and they completely changed, and then convinced all the others also to change. Okay, so therefore, actions are better than precept. So it's the way we act that's going to impact people more than what we say. Because people can say anything, They can all give nice speeches and promise this and promise that, but it's how you act that really counts, or how we act that really counts, and how we speak, how we relate to people. Are we honest? Are we clean? Do we have a pure heart, or do we have some vengeance? All these things people are going to look for. And if they see that we are genuine in everything we're doing, and we're real about our spiritual life and our desire to help others also make spiritual advancement, then they're going to keep coming to the temple, and they're going to become gradually more and more respectful of devotees, and even consider becoming a devotee themselves. It all depends on our behavior, not necessarily what we say, but what we do, that people are going to see and become influenced by. Okay, so let's continue reading.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances up to the personality of Godhead, who by his own effulgence, while situated in himself, has manifested this cosmos.
Which verse are you reading?
32, 3:12:32.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
May he also protect religion for all goodness. You want me to continue, purpose?
Please.
Lust for sexual intercourse is so strong that it appears herein that Brahma could not be dissuaded from his determination in spite of his appeal by his great sons like Marichi. Therefore the great sons began to pray to the Supreme Lord for the good sense of Brahma. It is only by the grace of the Supreme Lord that one can be protected from all allurement of lusty material desires. The Lord gives protection to devotees who are always engaged in his
Okay, it was from the allurement, not from the all allurement.
allurement of lusty material desires. The Lord gives protection to devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental loving service, and by his causeless mercy, he forgives the accidental fall of a devotee. Therefore, sages like Marichi prayed for the mercy of the Lord, and their prayers were fruitful.
Okay, so they couldn't convince Brahma himself. So they prayed to Krishna to help Brahma. And it is only by the grace of the Supreme Lord that one can be protected from the allurement of lusty material desires. So they prayed for Brahma, or for the benefit of Brahma, to Lord Krishna. See, now, you can't say, well, we can't do anything, this person is determined to do this. No, we can pray to Krishna to help the person, you see. And it worked. Brahma is going to change his mind and not do the act. See, that's where Krishna consciousness is so important. There is thinking, feeling, willing, and then there's acting. So we can stop ourselves from acting by properly thinking, feeling. So, in other words, we have to think, what's going to happen if I do this? Who is going to be impacted by it? Is this right or is this wrong? These are the type of questions we have to ask ourselves. And when the person that we're talking about is adamant about engaging in some illicit activity, then our only recourse is to pray to Krishna himself to help that person. And those prayers often work. You should not doubt this. And I've seen it happen myself in certain circumstances where the only thing you can do, you can't talk to the person, they're not willing to be reasonable. But the only thing you can do is pray to Krishna. And oftentimes, it works. Okay. And then Krishna is willing to forgive. By his causeless mercy, he forgives the accidental fall of a devotee. So, he was contemplating it, but it became like public knowledge because we're dealing in the previous age where you could not hide a thing like this. Nowadays you can try and hide it, but in those days you couldn't hide it. It would immediately become revealed to everyone that this person is contemplating this horrible act. How can we help them? Okay. Good. So someone else can read the next.
Verse Hare Krishna Maharaj, verses 3, 12, 33. Translation. The father of all Prajapatis, Brahma, thus seeing all his Prajapati sons speaking in that way, because very much ashamed and
became very much
ashamed and at once gave up the body he had accepted. Later that body appeared in all directions as the dangerous fog in darkness. Purport. The best way to compensate for one's sinful acts is to give up one's body at once. And Brahma, the leader of the living entities, showed this by his personal example. Brahma has a fabulous duration of life, but he was obligated to give up He was obliged to give up his body due to his grievous sin, even though he had merely contemplated it in his mind.
See, he didn't do anything. He was just thinking about doing it, right?
Without having actually done it. This is a lesson for the living entities, showing how sinful an act it is to indulge in unrestricted sex life. Even to think of abominable sex life is sinful, and to compensate for such acts, one has to give up
sinful acts.
For such sinful acts, one has to give up his body. In other words, one's duration of life, blessings, opulence, etc. are decreased by sinful acts. And the most dangerous type of sinful act is unrestricted sex.
So by giving up your body, it's not only, let's say, dying. There's another way of giving up the body, that is decreasing all the blessings, the duration of the life, opulence, etc. So that's another way of giving up the body. You have diminished lifespan, health, opulence, all these things become diminished and eventually decreased by sinful acts. And the most dangerous type of sinful act is unrestricted sex. Go ahead.
Ignorance is the cause of sinful life, or sinful life is the cause of gross ignorance. The feature of ignorance is darkness or fog. Darkness or fog still covers the whole universe, and the sun is the only counter-reacting principle. One who takes shelter of the Lord, the perpetual light, has no fear of being annihilated in the darkness of fog or ignorance. Annihilated in the darkness of fog or ignorance.
So, taking shelter of the Lord, that is what we're doing all the time. Because we're always faced with very difficult situations. We don't see how there's going to be a solution to the problem. It happens a lot of times. Therefore, we take complete shelter of the Lord. We pray to Krishna. And the prayer is not please do this or do that. The prayer is glorifying the Lord. Just like every day we're reading the prayers of the Brahma Samhita, that they're all glorification of the Lord. That's the way we talk to the Lord, by glorifying Him. Not that, hey, do this, do that. Oh, there's a problem here. I want you to take care of this also. that's not praying to the Lord. Praying to the Lord is glorifying Him. He knows what the problem is. He knows better than you and me what the problem is. But what He's looking for is the love and devotion with which we approach Him. And we do that with choice prayers like the Brahma Samhita. That's why we're reciting it every day. If you want to do something good, that's the best thing you can do, is glorify the Lord. Right? You don't have to ask the Lord for anything. He knows what we need. And sometimes we pray for other people also, like in the case of Marichi and the sages, because Brahma wasn't really listening to them very much. They prayed to Krishna to give Brahma the intelligence to make the right decision. Okay. So, one more. Somebody else can read.
Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Once upon a time, when Brahma was thinking of how to create the worlds, as in the past millennium, the four Vedas, which contain all varieties of knowledge, became manifested from his became manifested from his four mouths. Purport. As a fire can consume anything and everything without being contaminated, so by the grace of the Lord, the fire of Brahma's greatness consumed its desire for the sinful act of sex with its daughter. The Vedas are the source of all knowledge, and they were first revealed to Brahma by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, while Brahma was thinking of recreating the material world. Brahma is powerful by dint of his devotional service unto the Lord, and the Lord is always ready to forgive his devotee if by chance he falls down from the noble path of devotional service.
So by chance, that's the big word there. It's not by, it's not that he's planning to do this thing. It's by chance. Go ahead.
His devotee, if by chance he falls down from the noble path of devotional service. The Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.42 confirms this as follows. I'll skip this Mara. Any person who is engaged 100% in the transcendental loving service of the Lord at his lotus feet is very dear to the personality of Godhead Hari. And the Lord, being situated in the heart of the devotee, excuses all kinds of sins committed by chance. It was never expected that a great personality like Brahma would ever think of sex indulgence with his daughter. The example shown by Brahma only suggests
Example shown by Brahma
only suggests that the power of material nature is so strong that it can act upon everyone, even Brahma. Brahma was saved by the mercy of the Lord with a little punishment. But by the grace of the Lord, he did not lose his prestige as the great Brahma.
Wow, these are all amazing statements being made. If we can understand what's being said here, we can make a lot of spiritual advancement. Brahma was saved by the mercy of the Lord with a little punishment, but by the grace of the Lord, he did not lose his prestige as the great Brahma. So this is like well-wishing. Prabhupada would sign his letters, your ever well-wisher, and he meant it. He was always wishing for good things to happen to his devotees and for everyone who takes to Krishna consciousness. So, the action is more important than the precept. So we should pay a lot of attention to the way we act, the way we speak, the way we dress, the way we talk, and make sure it's always on the highest level of Krishna consciousness, where we're always praying for the benediction of other people so that they can make spiritual advancement. And we always give good advice to our own children, to our neighbors, to everyone. And we give an example of what we are trying to teach. So, therefore, we have to control anger, lust, greed, madness, illusion, enviousness. These are all very negative qualities, and they should never be manifest in the behavior or the thoughts of a devotee. Okay, so we'll stop right there, and we'll start tomorrow from the next verse, 35. Are there any questions or statements that you'd like to make? Yes.
So this whole verses are to just give an example for the humanity that, like, if there is an accidental fall down, Lord Hari can still forgive you by
Yeah.
chance.
Yes.
That's why it's been created through Brahma, because he's the very at high level.
He's at the highest level.
Yeah.
But even if something like this can happen to him, who's at the highest level, what about us? Right? So therefore, we have to be very, very careful what we say, what we do, what we desire. And we should always be concerned with the well-wishing of others, and not be vengeance, not be overtaken by vengeance or anger or speaking harshly, right? That's if you want to avoid having problems in life. You want to have problems, you can speak harshly, you can do this, you can do that. But no, I mean, we should only have these good thoughts in the mind all the time. And when we are in a difficult situation, we should sincerely pray to the Lord and glorify the Lord with choice mantras like the Brahma Samhita. And in this way, approach the Lord always with respect and loving devotion and offering service. Then Krishna will take care of the problem somehow, even the worst problem. Like, for example, yesterday, a Russian bomb destroyed a large part of ISKCON temple in Kherson, which is in Ukraine. Fortunately, nobody died, but it caused a lot of damage. Now, did the Russians specifically target that temple? I don't know. We don't know. But a bomb fell there, and it's very dangerous. We should thank Krishna that we don't have bombs falling on us. See now, the devotees in Ukraine, they're having a very difficult time because of that war there. So we should always count our blessings, and we should always be praying for the welfare of others. And if we're in a hopeless situation, nobody's listening, then we pray to Krishna, please help them. Right? So we should always have these good intentions and be a well-wisher and para upakar, wanting to do good things for others. Just like that one act that I did with the truck and the gas, it changed the whole concept that these people had about us, right? Just by that one thing, the one act. Right? Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maharaj, for Brahma, we don't do much puja all over the world. Why, Maharaj? we
There's-
don't create.
There's a story about that. I don't know it right now.
Okay.
But what do you mean doing puja?
Like,
Right? Puja.
Like in the sense, there are not much temples. We don't worship regularly, even though.
No, there's some story behind that.
Okay.
I don't have it right now,
Okay, Maharaj.
but I've read it. I'll try and find out.
Sure, Maharaj.
You want to worship Brahma?
No, it's such a powerful and such a big. Because I see a lot of other demigods in India, they pray, but we never seen any Brahma praying anywhere, temple or something.
Because Brahma's a devotee.
Yeah.
He's not trying to be God. He's trying to be the servant of God. So he doesn't want to be worshipped like God. He wants to be always the servant of the servant of the servant. Dasa, dasa, dasanu, dasa of the Lord. Right? So that's the difference between a demigod who is willing to receive worship as if he's God, and a pure devotee who doesn't want anything to interfere with glorifying the Lord. Okay? So the position of Brahma is top position, and he's a pure devotee. Now this one particular Brahma that we were talking about, in other words, something like this will never happen again, and it never happened before. So it's absolutely extraordinary. But it was to teach us a lesson, all of us. And Brahma did not actually do anything. He was just thinking of doing it. But in previous ages, you couldn't hide a thing like that. It would become known right away that you're thinking like that. Today, you can hide things, you can do all nonsense stuff, but the reaction is much more severe if you actually do something like that. Right? You can go to jail for doing a thing like that. So we have to be very careful about not misunderstanding this pastime. And it's only one Brahma. There are millions of Brahmas, right? And it does say it'll never happen again. Right? Why? Because Brahmas are pure devotees. Otherwise, they wouldn't have that position. They still have the desire to dominate, but their domination, they do it to please the Lord, then they go back to Godhead. Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, two questions. One question is when Brahma leaves his body, that's the end of this Brahma.
Yeah.
Okay. Typically, when
Because he's a jiva like you and me.
Mhm.
He has a material body.
Did he get his body back?
Well, he had to give up that body and get another body. But in the case of like us, our opulence, our life expectancy, everything would be diminished, right? We would die much younger than we should. Any opulence we have, we would lose or be damaged. Any respect we have would be lost. So all those things, that's also damaging the body. Right? In the case of the Brahma, he actually did leave his body, got another one. Okay. Yes?
One more question, Maharaj. This is the same Brahma that initially did the prayers before the material creation happened, because he was able to have a conversation with
No,
Krishna.
it's not the same Brahma.
It's not the same.
No.
Okay.
This is an exceptional Brahma.
This is not our Brahma Maharaj.
Haribo.